Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to dive into one of the most shocking developments unfolding in Europe, something that has not only surprised Ukraine itself but also sent ripples through Moscow and left Putin facing a reality he probably never imagined. The European Union, usually seen as more politically and economically active rather than militarily aggressive, is now reportedly working on a plan that involves a massive military buildup of around 120,000 troops. This is not just about symbolic gestures or political rhetoric. This is a real move designed to change the balance of power in the ongoing conflict, and it is being compared by analysts to a completely new strategy in the geopolitical game. The situation is more complex than just numbers, so let us carefully review every layer of what this means for Europe, Ukraine, Russia, and the future of global stability. From the exterior point of view, what the European Union is doing looks like a bold, unified, and very unusual step. For years, the EU was criticized for lacking any serious military structure, relying instead on NATO and the United States for hard power. But now the exterior of this plan presents an image of solidarity, decisiveness, and the willingness to confront aggression head-on. To Russia, this looks like the EU stepping out of its traditional role of economic power broker and entering the battlefield of hard geopolitics. The impression it creates internationally is that Europe has finally decided to raise the stakes, abandoning hesitation and preparing for a form of military readiness not seen since the Cold War. This exterior stance alone has already rattled Moscow, showing that Europe may be ready to transform from a soft power union to a force that can project real military influence. Inside, the interior of this plan is what makes it even more significant, though it remains shorter and less openly discussed. The EU has been carefully building frameworks for joint defense, joint procurement of weapons, and improved coordination between member states. What once looked like scattered defense policies now seem to be pulling together under one strategy. Internally, Ukraine itself was surprised to see such a unified stance emerging, because in the past some European countries were hesitant to commit. But the interior structure now shows stronger communication, faster supply chains, and a readiness to deploy forces in ways that would directly pressure Russia. Though still in early stages, this interior element is what gives the plan its real credibility. Now when it comes to performance, this is where the EU's plan becomes a real shock to the global system. The deployment of 120,000 troops is not just about numbers on paper, but about how they can perform on the ground in terms of logistics, mobility, and deterrence. A combined European force of this size, properly equipped and coordinated, can serve as a massive shield for Ukraine and a warning sign to Moscow that further aggression could be met with unprecedented consequences. The performance factor also extends to how fast the EU can mobilize, how efficiently the troops can be trained for a joint mission, and how seamlessly they can integrate with NATO structures if required. Analysts note that performance will be key. If the EU can actually demonstrate smooth operations, then this marks a turning point in European defense history. If the performance falters, however, critics will quickly argue it was symbolic rather than practical. When we look at the safety features, the EU is designing this buildup not purely as an offensive measure but also as a protective shield. For Ukraine, safety features mean stronger defense lines, more protection for civilians, and a greater chance to withstand Russian offensives. For Europe, it is about creating deterrence so that Russia thinks twice before escalating further or threatening countries on the eastern flank like Poland or the Baltic states. Safety is also connected to the assurance that this military presence is under collective European control rather than being dependent on external actors. In a way, these safety features are designed to reassure citizens across Europe that their governments are finally taking concrete steps to protect them in case of wider escalation. This is why some leaders are calling the plan a security guarantee for the next generation. One of the unique selling points of this entire strategy is that it is completely unexpected and challenges the traditional view of the EU. No one thought that the European Union, known more for trade agreements and economic policy, would move towards building such a large military footprint. This uniqueness lies in the symbolism. It is the first real sign that Europe is trying to become strategically autonomous, not relying only on the United States. Another unique element is the sheer scale. 120,000 troops is not a token gesture but a strong message of credibility. For Ukraine, the unique selling point is clear. Europe is not just talking, it is preparing to act in ways that could directly influence the battlefield. For Russia, this uniqueness is deeply unsettling, because it suggests Europe is not as divided or hesitant as Moscow once believed. When we discuss the price of this initiative, both literally and figuratively, it becomes clear how significant this decision is. Militarily, building and maintaining such a force will require billions in defense spending, joint procurement of weapons, and heavy investments in infrastructure. Economically, that means EU member states will need to reallocate budgets and prioritize defense over some social spending. Politically, the price is even higher, because this step risks direct confrontation with Russia, increased tension in the region, and a potential escalation that could drag Europe into a wider conflict. But supporters argue the price of inaction would be even greater. If Russia continues unchecked, the stability of Europe and global security would cost far more than any military buildup. So the price is heavy, but many European leaders now believe it is unavoidable. In conclusion, this unprecedented move by the European Union to prepare a force of around 120,000 troops has shocked Ukraine, unsettled Moscow, and rewritten what the world thought it knew about Europe's role in security. From the strong exterior impression of unity to the shorter but crucial interior frameworks being built, from the performance challenges ahead to the safety features designed to protect both Ukraine and European citizens, this development stands out as a historical moment. The unique selling points make it different from anything Europe has attempted before, and although the price is high, many see it as necessary in today's dangerous environment. The EU may still face hurdles in transforming words into action, but the very fact that such a plan is being seriously discussed already marks a turning point. Whether it becomes reality or not, one thing is clear: Putin is now facing a Europe that is far more determined, organized, and prepared than he likely expected, and that alone is enough to change the course of this ongoing struggle.